S nimi alebo bez nich. S nami alebo proti nám.
Je to veľmi výnimočný rok.
Spolu alebo o samote. Teplo alebo teplejšie. Zostať alebo odísť. Tvoja voľba.
Dobrý večer. A vítajte pri debate, nikoho som tým nepomnížil, akurát nejaké frustrované ženy, o feminizme, antifeminizme a o ženskej sexualite. Toto je debata, ktorú dnes môžete pozerať vďaka festivalu Jeden, svet a mesačníku Kapitál. Ja by som vám chcela pripomenúť, že ak ste pozerali filmy filmového festivalu Jeden, svet tento rok, môžete sa vďaka Fakulte sociálnych a ekonomických vied Ústavu verejnej politiky zaplniť do prieskumu o tom, aký má na vás tento online formát vplyv. Takže vždy, keď si pozriete film, v popise filmu sa môžete dostať aj k dotazníku. Pomôžte vede a veda pomôže vám. Ďakujem veľmi pekne, že ste tu dnes večer s nami pri tejto debate frustrovaných žien. Dnešná debata bude mať dve časti. Na úvod sa budem v angličtine rozprávať s islandskou umelkyňou Kristín Gunnlaugsdóttir, ktorej tvorba je súčasťou aj slovenskej kolektívnej výstavy Tvoja voľba. Ja by som chcela poprosiť režiu teraz, aby nám pustila obsah tejto výstavy, aby sme si ju mohli aspoň takýmto spôsobom v krátkosti pozrieť. Spolu s Kristín sa budeme vlastne baviť o jej práci umeleckej, o zobrazovaní vagín v jej umeleckej tvorbe, o tom, aký to má pre ňu politický význam, prečo je vlastne práve téma sexuality a ženskej sexuality pre ňu kľúčová a s akými reakciami sa doposiaľ na svoju tvorbu aj na Islande, ale aj v medzinárodnom kontexte stretla. Druhá časť tejto debaty bude československá. Budeme sa baviť s Luciou Jarkovskou z Masarykovej univerzity v Brne a s Monikou Bosou zo slovenskej organizácie SFEM a z Karlovej univerzity v Prahe o obmedzovaní reprodukčných práv, o súčasnej antisex politickej retorike a o tom, ako má v podstate táto politika a táto retorika vplyv a bude mať vplyv na naše životy v oblasti sexuálnych a reprodukčných práv. Takže ešte raz ďakujem veľmi pekne, že ste tu dnes večer s nami a prvá časť tejto debaty bude v angličtine. Tiež by som vám chcela pripomenúť, že sme na slajde s hashtagom feminizmus, takže ak máte na nás nejaké otázky, na Kristín alebo na moje ďalšie dve hostky, posielajte nám svoje otázky. Veríme, že si nájdeme čas, aby naše hostky na ne odpovedali. Takže v tejto chvíli by som chcela poprosiť Kristín, aby sa s nami spojila. Hi, hello, good evening and welcome.
Hi, good evening. Thank you.
We're so happy to have you here, Kristin, and also to be able to show your work. And I will just start off just really directly, probably what all of us actually have in mind at this point. Where do your visuals actually come from? What was the idea? Why did you how did you decide to focus on female sexuality? What is the history behind the idea?
Well, it's great to be here. I just wanted to say it. And I'm really honored that you choose my work for this occasion. I would say that for me, I was kind of trapped for a while in my work. I've been a professional artist for 30 years. And at some point, 2008, I came to a certain crossroads in my creativity. And the result was that I was willing to risk everything and be able to tell more kind of a truth, if one might say so. Go deeper in the subconsciousness of myself and mankind, if you can put it like that, and to show everything there is. Also, trust what would come. And the outcome after a period of intensive working, where I set everything free, were very outspoken sexually free, feminine vaginas and figures of great strength. That's what happened.
So how was this kind of work different from your previous work? And how different was the reception of your previous work from this kind of work in Iceland?
Well, I would say that before I was the good girl, and after I was the good woman. So the good girl, or the pictures were kind of aesthetically pleasing more, and I sold them well and easily. I sold everything I did, but somehow it didn't feel enough. I was getting pretty predictable for myself. I knew the outcome of the work before I almost started, and that's impossible to work like that when you are a creative artist. So I knew that my feeling of getting a little bit depressed meant that I had to take a big jump and take a big risk also. So yes, I didn't sell anything for a long time, but I was immediately very happy in my work. I was so happy and energetic that I knew I was in the right path. I was on the right path.
So you were not worried about breaking the taboos. How did the artistic community actually view your work on female sexuality and bodies?
In Iceland, I would say that the perception of it was very positive. The taboos maybe are a little bit lighter in the sense here that people were not so shocked about it. And I think that I was very positively perceived, particularly by women. So I felt, and also artists understood the dilemma that you are in sometimes in your creative process, and they gave a lot of respect to the risk I took, and that I was willing to sacrifice my good name and of being a very selling artist and plunge into something totally different. So, but I think also for some it was a relief. They felt it was befreeing that finally something came out like raw energy or something really true, not just nice and beautiful. So mostly it was very positive. But there were people who were kind of saying, oh my God, what is this? Of all generations, not just the older ones, absolutely not.
So, but in some countries, there is actually a legal framework which prohibits you to display genitalia. Were you not afraid of this kind of repression in Iceland?
No, in Iceland, there's no repression of this kind. So I was also playing with it a little bit. I liked to represent it the same way I had represented like altar pieces or religious artwork that I did and still do because I like it. But for me, there was no taboo in this at all. For me, this felt really natural. I, of course, realized that not everybody would agree. But I trust it because I could feel I was okay with it. I was stimulated and excited by it. I felt I got stronger. I was telling the truth, and I trusted that. So I also like that some of the works got black and a little bit frightening and ugly, but many of them were done with gold and aesthetically beautiful, but people were a little bit shocked. They thought it was something beautiful, like a rose in the beginning, and then they got closer and realized it was a vagina, and they, what is this? So you mirror yourself immediately and you think, this is beautiful. No, it isn't beautiful. Why don't I think it's beautiful? It's my problem.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you were saying that many women actually considered and approached your work in a very positive way. There were positive reactions, mostly from women. Did you have a chance to speak to anyone in person who actually viewed your work in a very positive manner? How did they feel about your work on female body?
I had an exhibition at where I came out with them for the first time in 2008. No, 2 years, and then another one, 2010. So people got a bit of time to get used to it. And then the National Gallery of Iceland, the National Art Museum, invited me to have a very big private exhibition in 2 big rooms in the museum, where I decided to have vagina in every work. Because history of art is full of male perception on the female body. And I said, there's not going to be one escape in this exhibition. Whoever enters has to face it. There are vaginas everywhere of all kinds of ways of representing it. So yes, I gave talks about it. I was interviewed about it. And there were more. I regularly had groups where I took them around the exhibition and I gave lectures about it. And people were good listeners. They, it depends on how you talk about it. If it's full of anger and resentment, then of course people find it difficult to listen to. But if you try to put it forth like the most natural thing in the world, that everything is okay according to nature, where is the problem? Then it's different.
Mm-hmm. Did you actually have any face-to-face negative reactions towards your work and your exhibition?
Yes, I was dying for it. I wanted to have some reaction. People were so pleased. So many women thought it was just so funny. They were laughing and, women approach something like taboos in a totally different way, especially when it's about their own body. And in this case, they thought it was amusing and pleasant. But I could experience and see that some of the men thought it was threatening. And I thought that was very, very interesting. It didn't happen often. Most of the men, and especially younger men or boys, thought it was easy to take. But there were maybe in between a few that found it difficult. For instance, one asked me why I was so angry. Why are you so angry? He was very, excited about it and very angry himself about it, of course. So I said, yeah, you think I'm angry. Why do you think I'm angry? And he said, I don't know, you're just angry, and his wife was behind and she said, so I could realize there was a discussion between the two of them. I had nothing to do with it. And when you represent taboos, it's so interesting to see that with the taboo, it mirrors what's actually happening. So the one who sees something that is provocative to oneself, if I look at something and I find it provocative, it very often brings out the reaction in me that is about something that I have to deal with. It has nothing to do with the picture or the artist or anything. So if there is a person looking at my work and gets really angry about it because he thinks I'm angry, it's his or her own anger they have to look at. That's why working with taboos is important. And I felt like I was doing a lot of good by just touching it, shaking it a little bit, for people to realize, why am I so upset about looking at these works? These are just pictures on the wall. Why does it get to me like this, that I feel threatened? Mm-hmm. And that's what it was really about.
Yes. When we were first talking about your work, you told me a lot about how you yourself felt that this kind of work is liberating. So I want to talk. Yeah. I want you to talk a bit more about that. How is this work personal to you? How do you feel the freedom in your own work? How is that connected to your own experience?
Well, as I described earlier, when I was coming at kind of a dead end in my creativity, and I felt like I had to take a big jump into the uncertain, to the unknown, it's quite a big step to take because you are risking also your income and everything, but that's what it's about. You have to be able to take the risk. And I felt at first I was shocked to see the outcome of what was coming with my way of working when I was unfolding, just telling the truth, always telling the truth, drawing, and telling the truth. And the outcome was this. And I just thought, what is this? But I could see that it had some power and energy as artistic work, and I trusted that. So at the same time, I could just feel that by being loyal to myself and believing in that I was doing was good because it made me feel good, that's enough. Then you just go for it. Not every artist would feel good about doing vaginas. It's not that simple. But if you are doing something that you really believe in and you really tell the truth, and it often involves taking a risk, then you feel it. You get invigorated and strong.
You talk about displaying the ugly, that at one point you were just no longer interested in the beauty, but you wanted to show what we would understand to be ugly.
Yeah, you have to dare to make works that are ugly, and you have to allow yourself the aggression that you have as an animal in order to survive, and to go for things. You just don't want to be aggressive to another person, but there are different ways to reach out for this energy and aggression. Yes, actually, right now I feel like organizing a course here in Iceland. I'm sure it would be good everywhere for women, especially women artists, and it would just be about making ugly work all the time. Try to make as ugly work as you can. It's not so easy because they always look great.
Awesome, thank you. I would like to remind our viewers that you can always send in questions through Slido. I have a couple more questions for you, Kristen. When we were last talking, we were talking about the history of art and about how male artists actually dominate the scene and how they portray the female body. And this reminded me of the artistic and activist collective Guerrilla Girls, who actually are trying to highlight this, that if women appear in galleries, it is usually naked and on the canvas. So I'd like to ask about your perspective on this, whether you feel strongly about this in your own work.
Yes, when I decided to have vaginas in every work in the exhibition in the Art Museum, it was taking as a consequence of something I experienced when I was in Paris, and I was witnessing, without knowing it, that there was a change of pope at the time, and we were standing outside of the cathedral, and it was all broadcasted live. And when the door opened of the big cathedral and all these bishops, cardinals, and priests came out, men in skirts, I thought, that's it, This is so weird and old-fashioned and strange. When I'm going to have the exhibition in 2 years, I will have every work with vagina. Because if you move it into the history of art, male painters have been depicting the female body for centuries and showing exactly what they like, what they love, what they don't like, what they don't love, the temptation, bullshit, and everything about the female body that we know so well. So I thought it was absolutely time that me as an artist would take over and do it my way, like this one. You want to have women with breasts? You got it. But it's done by a woman.
But you also told me about how actually women artists also become sexual objects themselves, that their own sexuality can oftentimes be exploited.
Yes. Yes. You mean as artists using their own work, own body in artwork? Yes, of course. I mean, there's not one way to do it. There's just so many different ways to do it. It's to lift off the suppression that is so important.
How do you feel that young women, when they are starting to enter the scene, what future you predict for them if they are trying to stay authentic to themselves, to not feel exploited by the field, but they also want to speak the truth about the female body? Do you predict positive future for them? Do you think it's easy and it will be easy in the future?
I think there is just no choice. It's not going to be so easy, maybe, but it's better than not daring to say anything. That's just not possible. We just have to continue to speak out and speak the truth. But nobody says it's going to be easy. So yes, I would say yes. Speak out, because at the end of your days, when you're an old person, if you manage to live that long, and you think you by yourself, and you think, I didn't dare to say anything, I never dared to take the risk, and I wasn't loyal to myself. That's very difficult. That is something that is most difficult, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've spoken about starting women artists. We've spoken about women, the viewers of your art. My question is whether the concept of sisterhood is important for you.
Yes, I think it's just fantastic. I think when women show support to one another, just by coming, looking at my work and laughing about it in a sense that felt so friendly and supportive, it was so important to me. I think it was the best compliment I got ever, that they felt befried by it. So, when women are supportive to one another, that's what we need. I think, in general, I was thinking about it just before this talk started, that for me, I think what we gain the most at is having education, that women and girls get the education they can get. Use it and educate yourself. Financial independence, and stay loyal to one another. Have sisterhood. Be supportive to one another.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your words. Maybe just my final question, because so far we do not have questions from the audience. So my final question for you is what we can expect actually from your future work. Will you continue doing vaginas, or what are your hopes for your future work?
Yes, well, I am continuing. I'm doing vaginas, and I'm doing big paintings, and I'm doing embroidery, and I'm drawing. Actually, I didn't think I would have the occasion to do this, but for the moment, I'm doing this. It's an Icelandic sentence that says, "Nú ert að verða erfið." And I think I embroider it and I sew it out with a needle and wool, like women do. And I think it means this in your language.
Oh. Yeah, thank you.
Now you're getting difficult. So I say, just, let's be difficult. Stay difficult.
So yes, so your work in the future will stay not pleasing to the eye, being critical as always.
Hope so.
Displaying the problematic.
Yes.
Awesome. So for now, it seems that I don't have any more questions for you. I would like to thank you very much for your presence, but also for your work. And what we are going to see now is the couple-minute document that Diana Fabianova actually did about you and your work. So I would like to thank you very much for being present. And
thank you so much.
Can you please hang on? We just got a question just right now. So I'm going to ask you a question that we just got. Would you consider painting male bodies in a way which resembles how women's bodies have been portrayed in history, to sort of flip the mirror? That is the question.
Yes. Well, this is a good question. I draw live model. I use live models all the time. So I'm drawing every week. I do dozens and dozens of drawings, both of male and female. So I have hundreds of drawings and I like them all. The drawings and pictures of males just don't sell. So I have them and they are cheaper. But I mean, this is to joke a little bit about the concept of it. But to do the male body is just as wonderfully pleasant as doing the female body, of course. But the background for the female history is just different. And being a female myself, I use it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your answers and for being with us. So now we're gonna watch the video. Prosím, neodchádzajte od nás. Pustíme si krátky dokument Diany Fabianovej. Thank you so much.
My name is Kristín Gunnlaugsdóttir and I'm an artist and I live in Iceland. And when I started to draw as a child in my mother's cookery books, I was probably 4 years old or so. I did queens only, women with big earrings and crowns.